Okay, 7th grade, so today we're in our writing packet, pages 11 to 13. It's Friday the 8th. Today we're talking about adjective phrases and clauses. If you didn't watch the video from Tuesday, you'll want to go back and do that because this isn't going to make any sense without that. So on page 11, you have a journal. Just like you did on Tuesday, you need to answer that with one paragraph. That is an independent activity. So the journal says, who is someone you look up to? Why do you look up to them? Describe the person, all that kind of stuff. So just telling us someone that you look up to and why you look up to them. Now let's jump into talking about adjective phrases and clauses, which is on page 12. So as we talked about on Tuesday, a phrase contains either the subject, the predicate, or neither one, while a clause has to contain both the subject and the predicate. A phrase cannot contain both, but it can contain neither. So an adjective phrase and clause is that some phrases and clauses function like an adjective, which means that they modify a noun or a pronoun. So they just describe the noun or the pronoun or change the noun or the pronoun. So an adjective phrase answers the questions, which one, what kind, and how many. So if we have the sentence, my uncle from Chile is my mother's little brother. So our adjective phrase is uncle from Chile. It doesn't have the predicate in it because the predicate is. So we have no predicate in here, so that's how we know it's a phrase and not a clause. Now how we know it's an adjective phrase is that uncle from Chile, the Chile answers which uncle. So it's telling us which uncle they're talking about. So out of all your uncles, which one are you talking about? The one from Chile. So that's how we know it's an adjective phrase. It's telling us which one in this case, but it could also tell us what kind or how many. Now an adjective clause does the same exact thing, answers those questions, which one, what kind, how many. But it usually begins with, well, obviously the main difference is that it has both the subject and the predicate. And then it also usually begins with the words either who, whose, whom, which, or that. So here we see he has a job that takes him all over the world. So our adjective clause is job that takes him all over the world. So what question are we answering here? What kind of job? So which one, what kind, or how many? Here we see that what kind question answered. So it has the subject, which is job, and the predicate, which is takes. So the job takes him all over the world. What kind of job is it? One that takes him all over the world. So now you guys we're going to take a look at, make sure you do page 11, which is the journal. We're going to take a look at the bottom of page 12, and then you'll do 13 independently. Okay, 7th grade, so we're looking at the bottom of page 12 here. So it says, identify the underlined group of words as an adjective phrase or an adjective clause by writing phrase or clause on the line. Then draw an arrow from the phrase to the phrase or clause to the noun that it modifies. So, again, we're answering those questions of which one, what kind, how many. So here, Chile pointed to uncle because it tells us which uncle. Takes him all over the world, pointed to job because it tells us what kind of job. So we're answering the question of which one, what kind, or how many. So my uncle told me a funny story about a mistake that he made at a hotel in Paris. So that he made at a hotel in Paris. So here we have, it also says a clause can include several phrases within it. The phrases are often prepositional phrases, which are phrases that often describe location, direction, or timing of something. So we look here that he made at a hotel in Paris. Well, that's not a complete thought, so we know it's either an independent clause or a phrase. Well, he made, so we have a subject and also a predicate. So in this, we know that it cannot be a phrase, which means that it has to be a clause because we have both a subject and a predicate. Now we need to draw that arrow from the phrase or clause to the noun that it modifies. So if we're looking here, it says, my uncle told me a funny story about a mistake that he made at a hotel in Paris. So this is telling us which mistake that he made. So this is modifying the word mistake. The next one says, Uncle Nestor, whose French is not very good, went to the front desk and asked for extra blankets. So we have whose French is not very good. And here we have whose, which would be our subject. Is would be our verb. So we have a subject and a predicate. So therefore we know that it has to be a clause, not a phrase. And what is whose French is not very good modifying? Uncle Nestor, because it's telling us which one. Which uncle? The uncle whose French is not very good. So the clerk at the desk looked puzzled. At the desk. Well, that would be at the desk. She's sitting at the desk. That's a preposition. But we do not have a subject because who's sitting at the desk? We do not know. So it's going to be a phrase. Now, what is at the desk modifying? The clerk. Because which clerk? The one sitting at the desk. It turns out that Uncle Nestor had confused the word blanket with the word meaning flag. So this one, meaning flag, meaning is our verb, but we have no subject there, so it has to be a phrase. And meaning flag is modifying what? Word. Because it's telling us which kind of word, the word meaning flag. The clerk thought my uncle wanted to wrap himself in a flag, which would not be very warm. Which would not be very warm. We have a subject, and we also have a predicate. So this one has to be a clause. And which would not be very warm. What is which would not be very warm? Modifying flag. So hopefully this makes a lot of sense. If not, you guys can get in touch with me during office hours today. Make sure that you guys complete this journal on page 11, and then you guys are doing 13 independently. So if you guys have any questions, I'll be available during office hours today.